Have you ever wanted to leave a job, make a change, or do something different, only to be held back by guilt, uncertainty, or the fear of the unknown? I'm going to go out on a limb and say the answer is yes. Even if you're not ready to admit it, let me do it for you, because I have. It's daunting, it's terrifying, it can fill you with dread and anxiety, quite simply. But it doesn't have to be. Let me explain how I make it easy to quit my job, so easy in fact that you can do it too. If you're new here, my name is Brendan, I'm a recovering accountant based here in London, and on this channel I help millennials navigate busy lives to make sure that work does not suck. Now seriously, who wants work to suck on a daily basis? Certainly not me. Today's video we're going to talk about how to make it super easy to quit your job, and quite frankly to know the right time to do so. We can all sit here and mull over and overthink things, especially when they're big important decisions. Having a day job is one of those key decision points, and to be quite honest, it is easy to put it off and end up staying in a job longer than you want to, should do, or have to. Even the thought of doing so, especially if you've been with a company for a number of years, imagine it's been 2-digit years, so all of a sudden you've been there 10 years plus. My word, imagine that. Imagine thinking, I'm going to have to go and do something else. I'm going to have to become the new boy or girl in the office all of a sudden. Now that is a daunting experience. Just because making these hard decisions can be a painful process doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it. So quite simply, how do we know when we should leave our jobs? Well, that is a very good question, but today I'm going to talk you through the 5 ways that I decide whether it is time to move on, so that you can apply this to your own career as well. Please also note that these have been used in real life. I've had 2 career breaks, meaning that I've made a change from my corporate job on a number of occasions, and often just give myself the time to take stock and understand what's happening has been a huge benefit to my life. I must admit, I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't made some pretty big changes, taken some time out, and changed the direction of my job. If you're interested to know more, please check out this video here where I talk about how I quit my job with nothing to go to, and make sure that Sunday evenings are not filled with dread or the Sunday evening blues, because once you get into that space, it is certainly not a good position to be in. So what are the 5 rules that I use? Well, just as a quick précis, there are 5 of them, obviously as I've just said, but the way that I use these is I compound them over time. So if one of the 5 has been ticked, then it means that I'm starting to consider what my position might be. If I've ticked all 5, then it is definitely an indicator that I need to make a change. Now, I'm not suggesting here that you quit your job with nothing to go to, far from it, but if you do find yourself ticking more of the boxes than less, it is probably an indicator that you need to start thinking about what you're going to do on your career and your career direction. So with that, let's dive in. The first one is very simple. You fear or dread Monday morning. Now, I'm sure we can all identify with the Sunday evening blues, but the moment that Monday morning starts to become dreadful, it is definitely an indicator that something needs to change, because quite simply, you shouldn't hate what you do. Now, I know there's a staggering statistic that says only a fraction of people actually enjoy the jobs that they do, and that is really, really worrying. Monday morning dread just means that you all of a sudden on Friday close down and start thinking, God, I don't want to do that on Monday. Imagine just having to go to that meeting, or I have to deal with so-and-so, or the project's just not working. Monday morning dread is something that we should all avoid with a passion. Why? Why are we doing something that we don't enjoy? That is a very key question, and to be quite honest, I haven't had the Sunday evening blues for a long time, which means that I don't dread Monday morning. Now, it is important to note that sometimes you do have to do things that you don't want to do, and sometimes they can be at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, but there is a big difference between dreading Monday morning and just having something on Monday morning you've got to do which you're not particularly a fan of. Please don't confuse the two, but the moment you start to dread Monday morning, now that is a time to make a change. Number 2, if life outside of work is being affected by life at work, something needs to change. Now, as you sit here, if you imagine the work that you're doing, are you enjoying it? If the answer is yes, then crack on. If the answer is no, what's the effect that it is having on your life? Is it stress? Is it anxiety? Are you becoming ratty? Are you becoming a bit irritating? Are you taking it out on your loved ones? My rule of thumb is if life outside of work is being affected by life at work, then something has to change. Now, the follow-on to that is, if you make a change, i.e. you say yes, then something will change, good, bad, or indifferent, but you won't be sat where you are. saying no or just sticking where you are means that nothing will change. You then can't sit down and complain that nothing is changing because you haven't done anything about it. So the simple equation is, if life outside of work, i.e. your relationships or your leisure time or the people that you spend time with, is being affected by life at work because you're stressed, you're tired, your work-life balance has gone out the window, then something needs to change. Please, please don't take it out on loved ones or friends or family just because you're stressed at work. Now, a quick example is I left one of the big accounting firms because I was deeply unhappy. And when I spoke to my parents about it, my mother remarked, "Why are you leaving a good job?" Well, the funny part is, from the outside, it looked like a really good job. It had a nice title and I was doing some quite interesting things. But I was deeply unhappy. And that was my response. It's like, Mum, my life outside of work is being affected because I'm becoming irritating. I was taking it out on my loved ones. But from the outside, it looked like I had a good job. But on the inside, I knew I was deeply unhappy. And I was taking it out on those around me. So just because people perceive you one way on the outside doesn't mean that you should just bite the bullet and carry on. Why not put yourself first? Because putting yourself first is not selfish, it's selfless, because the more you invest in you, the more you can invest in others. So just think about it. The moment life at work is affecting life outside of work, make a change. Now, number 3, I've coined losing respect for your elders. The way I've described this is that losing respect for your elders relates to those around you and probably senior management or the executive. We're all part of one vision depending on what the management want to do. But for me, I need to be bought in to why we're doing that. As Simon Sinek would say, people buy into why you're doing something, not what you do. Now, as part of that, when I take on a job, I am emotionally invested in the people that I work for. I want to learn, I want to be inspired. I'm going to give loyalty to those people because I just want to succeed and I want to help the company achieve what they set out to do. I become personally invested. I spend time and effort in relationships and helping move things forward in a material manner and setting the direction and building the strategy and making all the great stuff come to life. But I also expect the same in return. There have been too many people throughout my career who haven't acted with integrity, and that is the single quickest way for me to lose respect for a person, an individual, or even a company. Now, to be quite honest, I don't really give a shit whether you're the chief executive or the security guard. Everybody deserves to be treated in the right manner. Manners cost nothing at the end of the day, so be polite, treat people with respect. It doesn't matter your level or grade. Now, for me, when I talk about losing respect for my elders, it's very easy to say one thing and do another, especially if you're part of a select group, i.e. the executive. But the moment that I begin to lose respect for how they operate or what they do or what they say, then that makes me question whether I want to be part of that business. Now, it's not quite as simple as that. You won't easily see that it'll be one way or the other. But generally, if people are moving goalposts or they're not acting with integrity, then that sends up warning flags for me to say, is this something I want to be a part of? Now, you're probably thinking, well, actions speak louder than words, and that's absolutely true. But as you go through your day-to-day life, and if you're dreading Monday morning, and you're finding that life outside of work is being affected by life at work, and all of a sudden you don't feel like those around you are acting with integrity, or you've lost a bit of respect for what they do, these compound to a fairly strong indicator that maybe it's time to move on. Number 4 is one that's more intrinsic because it's you believe that you are meant for bigger and better things. When we start out our career, we are very, very fortunate to secure a job, and I hope that you enjoy the one that you do. But as you carry on, and you've been in that role for a number of months or even a few years, how are you still enjoying it? Is it still giving you the flutter in your chest of the excitement of what you're doing to be part of that? Or are you sat there thinking, I'm definitely meant for more than this? I mean, many people feel ashamed or embarrassed to admit deep down that they think that they're better than what they're doing. Well, my point of view is go for it. Don't sell yourself short. I mean, it's easy to class this as sort of boastful or arrogant ways of thinking, and it's not. It's about not selling yourself short. What it's actually doing is saying that you are meant for more than this. There's another direction waiting for you that could be more happiness, more success, better rewards, whatever that might be. If you have that feeling that you're meant for bigger and better things, just weigh up what you're getting at the moment. Is it ticking enough boxes to give you that? Or does it add another tick in the box to say, now might be a time to change? Now, number 5 is something that is massively important to me, and that is when you stop learning. I mean, your career should be moving in one direction. You should be moving forwards. You should be taking on more information. You should be challenging yourself. You should be enjoying what you do. For some, that means climbing the corporate ladder. For others, that means learning new skills or progressing in other ways, shapes and forms, probably widening your horizons, experiencing new things. No matter what your preference or vision, you should be experiencing some form of forwards momentum. Don't sit there and tread water. Don't think next year. Next year will never happen. They'll move the goalpost. You'll sit there, be frustrated. You'll get looked over for promotion. All of a sudden you'll become grumpy and you might end up leaving. Anyway, sorry, I digress. But if you're not having that forward momentum, that means that your career might actually be becoming stagnant. The question is, if you're going to stay there for another year, what are you going to get out of it and help you progress? Now, the question that I ask myself, that I have to give credit to a friend of mine who lives in South Africa to say, is, over the last 3 years, do you have 3 different years experience, or do you have the same years experience 3 times? The difference between those is enormous. Having the same years experience 3 times means you're not progressing, you're not learning. If that's what you want, then feel free to crack on. But conversely, if you have 3 different years experience, it means that you're enriching the experiences you have, you're progressing your career, you're understanding more than you have at the moment. Now, it all comes back to those of what is the forward momentum and what are you trying to achieve. Perhaps you haven't set out any goals that you're trying to achieve over the next 2, 5, 10 years. I would highly recommend that you do so and use the SMART framework, because that is one of the quickest and most simple ways of doing it. Another way of doing this is actually to write out your perfect day. Take a moment to think about, in 2 to 5 years, what do you want your perfect day to look like? And write it out in great detail. Everything from the time that you wake up and what you have for breakfast, and what are your responsibilities and your actions, and what activities do you do, and all the way through to what time you go to bed and the feelings that you have. That will help you understand what it is that you're working for, and then you can work back to get there, to work out the steps you need to take to do it. So a quick one to say, do you have the same years experience 3 times? Or do you have 3 separate years experience? A massively important question with a very key nuance. Now, in summary, those are the 5 items that I use as a checklist to determine whether it is time to move on and find a new challenge. I hope you find it useful, because if you begin to start ticking some of those, I think it will start challenging you around what you want to do. It's not always an easy process, and sometimes you have to be a bit Latvian police, i.e. harsh but fair. But really, if you don't use these as a checklist, how do you know when is the best time to move on? Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, moving on and making a change can be fearful and unsettling, and uncertainty and dread and doubt and all those sorts of things can cloud your judgment. Why not make it easy to determine when it is the best time to quit your job? And that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about today. If you like this, please do check out this video here where I talk about how I quit my job with nothing to go to. I think you would really benefit from that. And with that, I will wish you all a good day, and I will see you all very soon. Cheers.